Hey Parkview, I'm Pastor Jerome.
And I'm Pastor Cam.
And this is our Parkview Church Protection and Emergency Policy. Purpose and scope. Parkview Church takes safety, security, and abuse prevention seriously and will ensure that this policy and its procedures are regularly reviewed and that they are diligently enforced. The purpose of this policy is to set out responsibilities, guidelines, and procedures for the effective, safe, and acceptable conduct of pastoral staff, team members, and volunteers as they facilitate and oversee programs held by the church in order to ensure that the potential for abusive circumstances is minimized and emergency situations are quickly and effectively managed. Scope. This policy applies to all pastoral staff, team members, and volunteers serving during official programs held by Parkview Church.
Definitions. Child abuse refers to an act committed by a parent, caregiver, or person in a position of trust, even though he or she may not care for the child on a daily basis, which is not accidental and which harms or threatens to harm a child's physical or mental health or a child's welfare. Abuse is categorized as being physical, sexual, or emotional, involving neglect, harassment, improper touching, and improper discipline. Abuse of vulnerable adults is sometimes described as misuse of power and a violation of trust. Elder and vulnerable adult abuse can take place in the home, in other residential settings, or in the community. Physical abuse. Physical abuse is the intentional use of force against a child. It can cause physical pain, injury, or injury that may last a lifetime. This type of abuse includes pushing or shoving, hitting, slapping, or kicking, strangling or choking, pinching or punching, biting, burning, throwing an object at a child, and excessive or violent shaking. Sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse happens when a person takes advantage of a child for sexual purposes, in person or online. It does not always involve physical contact with a child. For example, it could happen when an adult makes sexual comments to a child or secretly watches or films a child for sexual purposes. Sexual abuse of a child includes any sexual contact between an adult and a child under 16, any sexual contact with a child under the age of 16 and 18 without consent, or any sexual contact that exploits a child under 18.
Emotional abuse. Emotional abuse happens when a person uses words or actions to control, frighten, isolate, or take away a child's self-respect and sense of worth. Emotional abuse is sometimes called psychological abuse. It can include putting a child down or humiliating a child, constantly criticizing a child, constantly yelling at a child, threatening to harm a child or others, keeping a child from seeing their family or friends without good reason, or threatening to move a child out of their home. Neglect. Neglect happens when a parent or guardian fails to meet a child's basic needs. Sometimes parents neglect their children on purpose. Sometimes parents don't mean to neglect their children, but they have so many problems themselves that they can't look at their children properly. Neglect can include not giving a child proper food or warm clothing, not providing a child with a safe and warm place to live, not making sure a child washes regularly, not providing enough health care or medicine, not paying any attention to a child's emotional needs, not preventing physical harm, and not making sure a child is supervised properly. Harassment. Repeated, subtle, or overt action, particularly by a person in a position of trust, which causes the recipient to feel attacked, demeaned, intimidated, or manipulated. Inappropriate touch. You must avoid kissing a child, coaxing a child to kiss you, or extended hugging and tickling. Touching a child in any area that would be covered by a bathing suit, except when assisting a toddler/preschool child with toileting as outlined in our washroom guidelines. Carrying children age 5 and older or having them sit on your lap.
As you can see in your policy packets, you will see that there are many different definitions for many different roles and responsibilities throughout our policy training. But for the purpose of this training, we'll only do 3: team members, volunteers, and vulnerable sector. So team members, attendees of Parkview who are ages 18 and older and provide support to programs and initiatives held by the church on an unpaid basis, having met the qualifications of a team member as detailed in Section 5 of this policy. Volunteers. Attendees of Parkview who are ages 11 to 17 and provide unpaid support to programs and initiatives held by the church on an unpaid basis, having met the qualifications of a volunteer as detailed in Section 5 of this policy. Vulnerable sector or vulnerable persons. Any person who, because of age, disability, or other circumstances, whether temporary or permanent, are in a position of dependence on others or are otherwise at a greater risk than the general population of being harmed by a person in a position of trust or authority or trust.
So here's a little bit more about team members, training and qualifications. Prior to working with vulnerable persons, team members must be adherent of Parkview Church for a minimum of 3 months. They must also pass a review of references by Parkview pastoral staff, as well as police vulnerable sector check in accordance with Section 6.3 of the Criminal Records Act. Parkview Church requires vulnerable sector checks to be renewed every 3 years to maintain qualification compliance. Those who are working with vulnerable people must complete a vulnerable sector check. Those who are not specifically working with vulnerable people must complete a criminal record check. All team members and volunteers must complete a serve team packet where instructions like these are specified.
Nice. Protection procedures, children's programs. Child check-in. All children must be signed into programs using the Parkview Kids Check-in. A parent or guardian over the age of 18 must complete the check-in process with his or her children and must retain the reference ticket associated with their children for pickup at the end of the program. All new children must have form number 0003 filled out by a parent or guardian. Program admittance. Once signed in, the parent or guardian shall be permitted to take the children to their age-appropriate program. Team members must keep a record of a head count by recording it in the binder in the room. This is done to allow team members to identify discrepancies in attendance in the case of a lockdown or other incident. Team member and volunteer conduct. During the conduct of these programs, team members and volunteers shall avoid being alone with children or any other vulnerable persons where possible. This can be difficult in situations such as facilitating washroom breaks or attending to emergencies. In some cases, this can be avoided by remaining within sight of other team members, volunteers, or security/support staff. Alternatively, if all other options have been exhausted, it is preferable to attempt to contact a parent or guardian to assist their child with washroom breaks. Off-site trips. Parents and guardians must sign permission form number 0003 prior to the commencement of the trip. Facility security. During the conduct of programs on Sundays, the daycare entrance doors shall be locked. This is done to ensure the security of the facility and prevent unapproved individuals from gaining access to vulnerable persons. The door going from the foyer to the daycare must be kept locked and will only be unlocked for drop-off or pickup. If a parent needs to go pick up their child during service, a pastoral staff or security team member will let them through the door. Child pickup. A child shall only be released to a parent or guardian over the age of 18 that possesses the appropriate check-in reference ticket. In the case of an older sibling under the age of 18 picking up a younger sibling, the parent or guardian will need to fill out form number 0005, giving them the responsibility to pick up their sibling. These completed forms shall be kept in the room binder for leaders to reference. In circumstances where the reference ticket is not available for presentation, the child shall only be released at the discretion of the pastoral staff member overseeing the program. This is done to ensure that wrongful custody does not occur. Photography and videography. Only designated ministry pastoral staff members are allowed to take pictures and videos of children during these church programs. These designated individuals must have a consent form signed by a parent or guardian to use their child's photo for any promotional and advertisement purposes.
Washroom guidelines. No team member or volunteer should ever be alone with a child in a washroom. Nursery. We do not change diapers of infants in the nursery. If a child needs a diaper change, the parent/guardian is contacted to come change their child's diaper. The security team member or the pastoral staff member will bring the code on the child's name tag to the tech booth in the auditorium for them to put it up on the screen. This applies to all of the children's ministry rooms to page the parents. Toddlers. Many children at this age, 2 to 3, are in the process of being toilet trained. Parents are encouraged to help their child in the washroom before checking them in the toddler room. If a parent has let the leaders know that they are not comfortable with their child using the washroom on their own, then a leader should either text the parent or guardian or get the security team member to page the parent or guardian so that they can bring their child to the washroom. JK to grade 1. If the child requires assistance, a team member/volunteer should stand in the doorway of the washroom in sight of another team member or volunteer. At no time should a team member or volunteer be alone with a child in the washroom. Grades 2 to 4. Grades 2 to 4 is in room 128, and children should not be sent to the washroom alone, but should be accompanied by a team member. The team member should escort the child to the wheelchair-accessible washroom across from the nursery. They should then remain outside the washroom door and wait for the child before escorting him or her back to the classroom. Team members should never go into the washroom with a child or youth and close the door. In extreme circumstances, such as nosebleed or vomiting, team members and volunteers should assist the child from the open doorway while remaining in plain sight.
Staffing and supervision. The pastoral staff member overseeing children's programs in partnership with an assigned security team member shall make regular visits to the classrooms to ensure each program is properly staffed and supervised. They shall also ensure that team members and volunteers have a clear understanding of their roles and associated responsibilities. Programs that involve children must include qualified team member supervision. Team member supervision must be maintained before and after the event until all children are in the custody of their parents and guardians. Immediate family team members shall not serve together unless there is a non-related team member serving alongside. All rooms must meet the approved insurance ratio guidelines for supervision as follows. Nursery programs shall have a ratio not greater than 3 children to 1 team member. Toddler and kindergarten programs shall have a ratio not greater than 7 children to 1 team member. Grades 2 to 4 programs shall have a ratio not greater than 10 children to 1 team member. For safety reasons, children will no longer be accepted into a classroom setting once the maximum ratio of children to team members is reached. Provided that 2 team members are present, volunteer staff may be considered as towards the number of supervising staff. This shall be at the discretion of the pastoral staff member overseeing these events.
Youth programs. This procedure documents the guidelines for conducting programs involving youth from grades 5 to 12. For the purposes of this policy, these students are considered to be part of the vulnerable sector. Section 6.2.1 Event and Program Guidelines. Students check-in. All students shall be assigned into programs using Planning Center check-in, and all new students shall be given Form 0003 for their parents/guardians to fill out. Off-site trips. Students shall be given a permission form 0003 to be signed by a guardian or parent prior to the commencement of the trip. Facility security. With the exception of areas in use for other programs, all doors shall remain locked except for the youth room entrance. Youth room entrance on Marlborough Road should be locked when youth are not in the youth room. Appropriate social networking. If a team member is texting or direct messaging with a student over social media, they should make sure that the appropriate pastoral staff member is aware. All message conversations should be kept in the event that the leader is asked to show the messages to a pastoral staff member. Meeting/driving students. If a team member/pastoral staff member ever has the opportunity to meet with a student outside of regular youth programming, you must first obtain the consent of their parent/guardian. Text or email with permission and agree on a spot to meet. If driving a student, consent from parents and guardians is required as well. Section 6.2.2 Staffing and Supervision. All off-site trips and events shall be staffed by a minimum of 3 team members to ensure the safety and security of students. All rooms must meet the approved insurance ratio guidelines for supervision as follows. Junior youth grade 5 to 8 programs shall have a ratio not greater than 7 students to 1 team member. High school programs shall have a ratio not greater than 10 students to 1 team member. 6.3 Incident Management. Incident Reporting. Incident reporting is necessary for the protection of both Parkview and individuals involved. All team members and volunteers have a moral obligation to promptly report to pastoral staff any concerns regarding the safety of any vulnerable individual, the violation of the protection procedures or guidelines outlined in this policy, or if they suspect that a vulnerable person is or may be in need of protection. Pastoral staff will assist a team member in reporting suspected abuse, as the person who suspects the abuse is required to report it. If abuse is suspected in any way, the law imposes a duty on the pastoral staff to manage the situation and facilitate reporting it to Family and Children's Services and/or the Guelph Police Service as applicable. In situations where incidents involve a pastoral staff member, incidents shall be reported to either the lead pastoral staff member or, as necessary, a member of the board. No retaliation. It is contrary to the values of Parkview Church for anyone to retaliate against any board member, pastoral staff member, team member, or volunteer who, in good faith, reports an incident. Confidentiality. When reporting incidents, information pertaining to the situation shall be kept confidential by all involved parties. Incident documentation. Reported incidents shall be documented using the Incident Report Form 0004. This form is found in the Kids Youth Ministry binders or through a pastoral staff member. All completed forms shall be filed by the pastoral staff member overseeing the event or the program. Responding to a victim of abuse. When dealing with a victim of abuse, team members and volunteers must take the situation seriously and follow these guidelines. Do not deny the problem, but stay calm and listen to the individual. Give emotional support where appropriate. Tell the individual that they were right in telling you about the problem. Be supportive without making promises.
Emergency procedures. Parkview is committed to the safety of all people. Having an emergency plan can improve both the efficiency and effectiveness of an emergency response. First aid. In order to ensure a quick response to medical incidents that may occur at Parkview Church, first aid kits and AED shall be kept on hand, and all team members and volunteers shall be made aware of their locations. First aid kits are located in every kitchen in the building and in every kids' room. The AED is located on the right side outer hub wall next to the bulletin board. Pastoral staff members shall also maintain a valid first aid certification. In the case of an incident requiring first aid, the following procedure shall be followed. Where possible, a pastoral staff member shall take control of the situation, notifying emergency services as necessary and administering first aid. When a pastoral staff member is not present, a team member or volunteer, preferably one possessing a valid first aid certification or medical qualifications, shall take control of the situation and perform the above duties. In this case, the pastoral staff member overseeing the event shall be notified and shall take control of the situation upon arrival, providing first aid support and consultation to the first responder as necessary. Responsibility for the care of injured persons shall remain with the first responder or with the first person on site that possesses first aid qualifications and shall be relinquished to emergency services upon their arrival. An incident report form shall be completed by the pastoral staff member overseeing the program in conjunction with a team member who is present at the time of the incident. The incident report forms are located in the binders in each room. Building evacuation. In the case of a fire or situation that requires the evacuation of the building, pastoral staff, team members, and volunteers shall facilitate an orderly evacuation using the following procedure. In an evacuation situation such as a fire, security team members and/or pastoral staff shall report to the kids to assist in the evacuation of the infants and children. During the evacuation of children's programs, all team members shall check to ensure that the binder is collected and brought to the rally point to check the head count. Room 128. Children shall be escorted out the exit at the back of the room and rally in the gravel parking lot. Upstairs. Children in classrooms upstairs shall be escorted down the stairs through the daycare doors and rally in the gravel parking lot. Nursery. Children shall be evacuated through the exit at the back of the room and rally in the gravel parking lot. Youth room. Students shall exit at the emergency exit door in the youth room, or if the exit is blocked, students shall exit using the outside Marlborough entrance doors. Students shall rally on Marlborough Road. Auditorium. When facing the front of the auditorium, evacuation shall be carried out as follows. Persons sitting on the left side of the auditorium shall exit toward the office and rally in the main parking lot. Persons sitting on the right side of the auditorium shall exit toward the youth room and rally on Marlborough Road. Persons sitting in the middle section of the auditorium shall exit through the foyer, out the main doors, and rally in the main parking lot. Gym. All persons shall exit through the doors at the opposite end of the gym from the main entrance and rally in the gravel parking lot. Once evacuation has been completed, team members should do a head count to ensure that all the children are accounted for, reporting any discrepancies to the pastoral staff. If necessary, pastoral staff shall check the building to ensure that all rooms are empty and that sufficient room is available for emergency vehicle access to the building.
Lockdown procedure and guidelines. A lockdown is a state of isolation or restricted access instituted as a security measure. Note that once the authorities have been contacted, they have ultimate command and their instructions shall be followed. In case of a lockdown, the following procedures shall be followed. See the floor plan diagrams below for red and green zone references. Appropriate pastoral staff and team members shall determine the severity and location of the situation at hand. If a lockdown is required, pastoral staff shall perform the following. Call 911 and notify the authorities of the situation. Notify all classrooms and security team members of an active lockdown via cell phone, two-way radios, and communicate the lockdown situation to the congregation, advising on appropriate actions. If safe to do so, pastoral staff and the security team members shall check all washrooms and hallways in the facility, escorting individuals who may be in designated red zones to the closest secure green zones. Team members and volunteers shall facilitate the moving of people from red zone to green zones as quickly and calmly as possible. Team members supervising classrooms shall perform the following. Ensure that all recognizable or known individuals present in the hallways by the classroom are ushered quickly into the room. Secure the classroom, locking all access. Children shall be seated against a wall, away from the doors and windows, and out of line of sight through windows. Head count shall be done to ensure all children are present, making special note of missing and extra children, and communicating any discrepancies to pastoral staff via cell phone or two-way radios. Ensure that volunteers, children, and other individuals remain in the room at all times, maintaining silence. All individuals shall remain in green zones until instructed by authorities and shall comply with any instructions for leaving the building provided by the authorities. All individuals that have been evacuated by the authorities shall rally in the gravel parking lot, out of the way of any emergency vehicles unless otherwise instructed.